Oh, hello. My name is Andrea Paratto, and I am a certified dementia practitioner, and I'm here with Natalie Hanson, who is also a certified dementia practitioner. And Natalie and I thought it would be very important for us to discuss the different stages associated with Alzheimer's disease and dementia because there is so much happening within each stage. And sometimes these stages will actually work for other forms of dementia as well. So hopefully this topic will be helpful. But please see a medical professional for any cognitive testing or diagnoses. So stage one is normal. That's no dementia. So then we would have to move on to stage two, and we can start there. So we know that within this stage, there are some changes related to memory, some problem solving, some judgment skills that have been gradually occurring over time. There may be moments or times when the individual could be very tired, stressed, sick, or even frustrated. To understand a little bit about a stage two and their cognition, it's kind of like the age of a 20-year-old plus, right? So their brain's still working pretty good, but their ability to process and understand the world around them is more of like in your 20s, right?
Right.
So to elaborate more, sometimes it's hard for the individual to find the right words, or sometimes just words. They have the ability to describe a lot of what they're trying to say so that people can kind of follow along and they don't appear like they don't know what they're talking about. It's very embarrassing, I think, sometimes when you forget what you're saying and you're in the middle of a conversation, so they try to hide it or mask it. Word tending will tend to be more challenging if they're tired or they don't feel well or they have a lot of stress, and sometimes even if they're trying to do way too many things at one time. Often they're going to talk out loud as they try to go through the different tasks so that they can try to help themselves get it. So Natalie, what type of prompts could one use to help a person who's in a stage two?
Well, if the individual has like a preferred learning style or tends to like specific prompts such as notes, calendars, phone calls, reminders, or alarms, you can try to use that mode. For example, you could do lists. That tends to help a lot.
Like a to-do list?
Like a to-do list, a grocery list, daily or weekly pill boxes to help with those reminders of taking their pills and doing their medications. Can do whiteboard notes. Get a whiteboard and leave themselves some notes on the whiteboards. Written or picture instruction sheets also help really well.
Okay, so like if you have a calendar on the wall and you're at mom and dad's or something and one of them has dementia, you can actually write appointments and stuff on there so that it helps them remember.
Yeah.
Or set alarms so that they know when to take their medications. Like on a phone, if they have like a cell phone, you can put, take your meds, and then you already have that pill box set up so they know.
Yeah, set up reminders on their phones, yeah.
And that's helpful. Have you ever noticed that when two people are really close, like a spouse, we tend to fill words in for them or finish their each other's sentences? It's very common. It's actually pretty natural. Even best friends will finish each other's sentences. If the individual is fine, I think, and comfortable with you filling in words, you should feel free to do that, right?
Right.
But if the individual is not fine with you constantly filling in their words because they're trying to get those words out, then you might have to be a little bit more patient with them and just allow them the time to get those words out and just slow things down to their pace. And of course, you always want to try to honor their preferences, their choices. This helps, I think, with the frustration and the anxiety. So that's all about stage two. So I think we should move on to stage three. And I think to better understand the individual within this stage, it's very important to understand their cognitive function. So when they reach this stage, their ability to understand and process the world around them is at the age of a teenager to a 20-year-old. But Natalie, does that mean they're going to act like a teenager? Or is it just their ability to kind of understand?
It actually encompasses all aspects of their ability to function.
So physically as well?
physically as well. Yes. The brain is still clear and sharp, and at other times it can be cunning or hard, which may not be typical for them.
Right.
And the individual may have many facets, and everyone could see them differently. They might potentially cause conflicts amongst the care teams or family members.
And we see this a lot.
Yeah.
Where we're trying to manipulate to get our way, as teenagers will do. And so they kind of act like a teenager. They have those types of behaviors, I guess you can say, or expressions.
They tend to reflect your concerns back as they are processed. They work to hide them and sometimes mention or treat them as just normal getting old. So it's more of like a hiding of what is happening.
Oh, okay. It's that embarrassment factor. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want people to know that there's something wrong with me, so I'll just pretend that nothing's wrong.
And a lot of times they get very good at hiding what is wrong. And so and jumping ahead a little, as they progress into stages, sometimes as they get into a later stage, I didn't realize anything was going on because they got so good at hiding.
Yeah,
what is going on?
Because a lot of times, like when with a spouse who fills in words for you, you don't recognize that they're actually struggling with that word finding, because it's just automatic for you to fill that word in for them when they're searching for it. And so the spouse might not even recognize that their loved one is having memory conflicts, because it's just so natural to do that. You're supporting and helping out your loved one.
And if it's something that they've always done and it's a repetitive action, you don't notice kind of like the little inconsistencies in it, because it's something that they're used to doing.
Right. That makes sense. They're very good at hiding it.
Yeah.
They can be very rigid and inflexible at times. They like things the way they like things. They like to do things the way they want to do things. And they seem very less aware of boundaries.
Yeah.
And so this is where we get into that teenager behavior that we see expressed. They want to be unique. They want to be the center of attention. They cause conflicts among care teams and with families. They don't seem to really care about, how it's making other people feel, because it's all about me right now, and at the same time, you have a hard time helping them because it's, why are you in my room? Why are you in my stuff? I can do this myself. Leave me alone. And it's that teenager mentality and behaviors that they're actually exhibiting. I think they're going to struggle a lot if you try to change their routine or change the expectation. Changing the settings and situations. I think that they don't deal well with a lot of change. And so you try to keep their routines, try to keep those habits and those preferences that they've always had.
They can become accusatory, thinking that others are trying to trick or conspire against them.
All the time. People stole my stuff. That lady was in my room and she took stuff. Who are you in my house? Why are you here? Everybody's always trying to trick them.
And it even comes in the hiding it part where, if you start noticing the changes and, it can start saying, hey, is something wrong? And they can start becoming accusatory that way too.
Right. And you're accusing me that there's something wrong with me and I know I'm fine.
Right.
Very, very, very good at social chit chat. And this comes in with the masking, because if you have a conversation with them for a short period of time, just like you come to visit them and you stay for half an hour and you leave, often you won't notice the conversational and deficits and the word finding issues and them struggling to sequence their thoughts, because they're good at masking it for that short period of time. And so a lot of people don't see that they're actually struggling, with those short little visits. And if you try to tell them that you're just not getting it like you used to, you're just not understanding, I feel like that just causes more anxiety.
Yeah.
It causes more frustration because they don't see it. They're not aware of those deficits as much. So I guess the question really is, how can we help them? How can we help them in this stage?
Well, one would be to not argue.
Oh, stop arguing.
Stop arguing with them.
Oh.
And give up reality orientation. Stop. You don't have to be right.
Oh,
So you want to stop needing to be right.
Stop needing to be right. That's a good one.
Support them without being bossy and taking over completely. Let them still have that control of their life, because they feel so much is spiraling out of control with the changes going on and all that stuff, and memory problems. They need to have some of that control still.
That makes sense.
So say you're sorry. If they're getting frustrated, just, I'm sorry, I was just trying to help.
And it might actually ease it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they still are compassionate individuals, even though they have Alzheimer's or dementia. And often, when you're apologizing, think about how you made them feel, because you don't realize when you try to help somebody who's been independent their whole life and now they're struggling, when you try to help them, it makes them feel incompetent. It can make them feel stupid. That in turn makes them sad or upset or more frustrated. So, try that. I'm sorry if this made you feel uncomfortable, or I'm sorry if, I made you feel like you couldn't do it yourself. And that actually goes a long way when you're interacting and building that relationship of trust, I think.
And I think asking how you can help them. How can I help you?
Yes, because they can still respond.
Right.
They can still answer questions.
And they can let you know what they need from you, rather than just assuming and thinking that you know what they need.
And to piggyback on that, I think we need to remember, funny word, to stop saying, don't you remember?
Right.
Because we know when we're getting to this point that we're starting to see that we're having trouble remembering. We're having memory conflicts. We're struggling finding words and remembering what the conversation is that we're talking about. And when we say, well, don't you remember when I was here yesterday and we discussed that? You're causing them to shut down so that they can try to find that file in their brain to remember what it is that you discussed with them yesterday. And that just leads to more frustration and agitation and even anxiety, because why can't I remember? Right. Why can't I get to that? So I think that, not using the word remember is going to be huge.
And I think that goes back to some of the strategies we discussed for the previous stage about using lists, using whiteboards. If you're discussing something important as far as, doctor's appointments or medication or whatever, using those lists and whiteboards so that, they're not having that much frustration of not remembering.
Right. It helps with those memory conflicts. And of course, you want to keep your voice calm. You want to be friendly. That really goes a long way. My mom always taught me you get a lot more
catch more flies.
You catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar. That's exactly it. And so I think that if your approach is more friendly and your voice remains calm, that you will have a much higher success rate in completing tasks and helping that individual.
If you're getting tired or frustrated, take a break.
Good advice.
Take a break. It's not going to help you or them if you're tired or frustrated at all. It's just going to heighten their frustration.
Well, right, because they kind of feed off of your energy, your body language, your facial expressions. They see that, and so they react to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the more frustrated and
it's okay to walk away.
It's okay to walk away. As long as they're safe, it is definitely
it's a good
okay.
Life lesson. It's okay to walk away.
It's okay to walk away.
Limit the sharing of things that are coming up in the future. It can be too much information for them at one time. As they're struggling to remember things, and to do things, sharing too much of what's coming up in the future can be very overwhelming.
I remember an instance where we had a client whose loved one was going on vacation, and they wrote it on her calendar, and it wasn't until like a month from when she wrote it on the calendar, and the client was obsessed. Is today the day that my daughter's going on vacation? Because I won't be able to get a hold of her, and she won't be able to take me to the store, and she won't be able to do this for me. And it was 3 weeks. Nope, not for another 3 weeks. Is she going on vacation? But every day it was the same questions.
Right.
And you could see that anxiety of, she's not going to be around. And so limiting that sharing in such an advanced amount of time, especially when you write it down so they visually see it all the time, can be really difficult.
Right.
And of course, you're always wanting to keep as many old habits and routines as possible. That really does help eliminate that confusion, because they're doing the things they already know how to do, and keeping it easy, keeping it simple. And that wraps up stage 3. So I guess we can move right on now into the stage 4, which is actually our early stage of Alzheimer's disease. And I think that when we reach this stage, this is when your close family and your friends are really going to start noticing those changes. It's different for every individual, but they're pretty similar. The memory and the cognitive changes, such as problem solving, those judgment skills, are way more visual to others. When they reach this stage, they have the ability to understand and to process the world around them at the age of a 4 to a 10 to 12-year-old. And there's such a span of age there, because some days I may process really well at that 10 to 12-year-old age. And then some days I might not be as clear, and I may be at that 4, 5, or 6-year-old stage. And that's how I can understand the world around me. And so I will ask other people who I'm training when I go through this stage and say, if your 10-year-old was sitting at the table, would you throw them your checkbook and your bank register and say, hey, can you just, balance the checkbook, pay the bills, and make sure that we have enough money to budget for the next 2 weeks? And the answer is normally, heck no, I would never give my 10-year-old. They don't understand that. They don't understand how that works. And so we're in that same age. This is when finances start to become difficult. We're going to pay the gas bill 3 times in a month. We like to save cash and put it in envelopes and hide it throughout the house because we're afraid we're going to run out of money. And they get really financially focused, but they're not able to understand the process of doing those finances. And so families start to notice when things start happening at home, and the money situation starts to get more confusing. So Natalie, there's so much going on in this stage. Can you talk a little bit about what this individual might be going through in a stage 4?
They have limited or no awareness of their flaws and loss of abilities.
So they just think they're doing great.
They think they're doing great.
They paid the gas bill 3 times this month.
It's all good.
It's all good.
They have changes and losses get more apparent as the day grows late. They start sundowning, which is like an increased confusion later on in the day. It's like the more tired they get, the more the confusion sets in.
And you're stressed all day long, right?
You're stressed all day long trying to just get through the day. That the stress has kind of taken over. And now the confusion sets in even more.
And so it's even more of a struggle later as the day progresses, and then it gets into evening. I can see how that would happen.
They tend to pay more attention to what they see than what they hear. So if they see it, they do it. If they hear it, they may not. They tend to skip their care routines and think that they have already done them.
Oh,
so this is where
I already brushed my teeth this morning.
I already took a shower. I already did all this.
Meanwhile, the shower's dry and no towels have been used.
Right.
We see that a lot.
A lot of times they'll think they're in a different time or place in their life. They'll be, maybe experiencing their teenage years or their early 20s
So to expound a little bit on that has to do with how the disease process goes, right? So the first thing I lose is my short-term memories, those instant recall memories, right? So as the disease progresses, it stands to reason that I continue to lose those short-term memories till all that's left really are those long-term memories.
Right.
So it's hard to put myself in the present day when those memories I can't even access. I can access my memories from when I was younger. So I guess that's kind of where I'm at.
And they may not recognize you like as their daughter.
Because I should be much younger.
Because you should be younger, or I don't even have kids.
Because I'm even younger.
Because I'm even younger.
Wow.
Sometimes they may not recognize their spouse because they're looking for that person from that wedding picture.
And they always have their wedding picture.
Yes.
Always. If whether you're in their house or whether they have a room in an assisted living or a nursing home, you always see those pictures of them when they're younger with their spouse.
So
and
you're looking for that
It's the wedding photo.
Yeah, and so then you're looking for that wife, that younger wife,
right,
in the picture.
And I'm not sure who this 80-year-old woman is that's saying that she belongs to me and that she's my wife.
Right. And they start making mistakes in their personal care. They'll want you to help them if it makes them feel incompetent. They won't want you to help them, if it makes them feel incompetent or stupid. And that that can go back to, well, I already took a shower, because they don't want you to know that I can't.
Right. And I think that to piggyback off of that again, their emotions get so out of control so easily that they could just completely go over the top. And usually, like you said earlier, it's way worse in the later afternoon because of that stress buildup and that sundowning, and they're just tired and fatigued by the time evening comes around. So they're just plain worn out.
Yeah.
So I think there are ways that we can assist them when we're in this stage as well. And I think one of the biggest ones is greet before you treat. Talk to them, introduce yourself, get connected with them, establish that relationship each time you go and try to help them with a task.
But when you introduce yourself, remember, though, that they are not at that age. So you might have to introduce yourself as just Andrea, not your daughter or not your wife.
And maybe not even say, hi, Mom. Say, hi, Mary. It's Andrea. I'm here to visit with you, so that they can process that, take a little bit to process that.
Yeah.
I think that actually would be very helpful. Because they literally could be lost in life. And this moment is what's happening right now. And so we have to try to stay calm always when those emotions are going over the top, and try to get connected in a way that they're going to understand. And one of the biggest things that I think is hardest is that listening, because we're all busy in our lives and we have things to do, and we're always, rushing around and doing stuff. And it's hard to listen and wait 3-5 minutes for somebody to get an explanation or a sentence out. So we fill words in for them. We assume what the end result's going to be and what the needs are going to be. And we don't take the time to actually just listen to everything that they have to say. And you'd be surprised how articulate they can be when you actually let them just get it out, right?
Right. And on that point also, when you're talking, talk slow, don't give them so much information at one time.
Maybe pause,
give them time to process exactly what you're saying. So give them time to listen and process.
And I think either or choices are going to be really good when we get to this stage, because when you ask, hey, what do you want for breakfast? And I have to really sit there and think really hard. It's hard for me because I'm already having these memory conflicts if I have dementia or Alzheimer's. So maybe give me either or choices. Do you want pancakes or waffles? Do you want eggs or, bacon and sausage, or, what I mean? Like wheat toast or rye toast, cranberry juice or orange juice? Because when you give them a multitude imagine going to a restaurant, the waitress comes up to you and says, okay, what would you like to drink? We have cranberry juice, orange juice, prune juice, apple juice, grape juice. And you're just trying to remember, you lost me at what would you like to drink?
Right.
Because there's so many things to choose from. And it's just so hard for me to get through all that and process it.
Then the stress is starting.
Right. And now I'm done. I don't even want to eat her anymore.
Yeah.
Building a daily routine. Building a daily routine and a schedule, I think, is key. It's so important to have that structure, because we all need structure in our lives. And I think that with the disease process, we need structure more than anything. And I think that even setting my clothes out on the bed, if I'm struggling with that sequencing, and you'll notice when they forget a step and they forget to put an item of clothing on, they'll walk out with their shoes on, no socks, or they'll put pants on, no underwear, or vice versa. So I think that if you just sequence by laying their clothes out in a row in order of what they need to put on first, it will really go a long way in promoting their independence and allowing them to do it on their own. But you're simplifying it for them, right? You're literally making it easy, and they like easy. It doesn't cause anxiety and frustration to try to get through all of this because you helped me by just sequencing it for me.
Right. Right.
So I think that if you just break tasks and those activities and those expectations down into smaller steps and do less at a time, that really, helps throughout this whole stage in every aspect. Just slow it down. One step at a time.
Well, and I think it helps to build more confidence because they're feeling more success doing these tasks. When you're when you said breaking it down or setting out the clothes or whatever, it gives them more confidence. So then, the behaviors can be less, the stress can be less, and they're feeling more per se normal because I can accomplish this. So then that's,
right. And I'm going to do better because I'm stress free.
Right.
Because I'm not having anxiety and frustration and anger, and I'm not irritated. I'm going to work way better on executing these tasks if I'm stress free. And if you can help me relieve some of that stress, by again taking down and breaking those tasks down into little pieces and taking it a little slower, it's going to go a long way in helping me if I'm in a stage 4.